Hello guys, full time in the North London derby. Tottenham 2, Arsenal 3. I might be wearing blue right now, but North London is definitely red. I've just gone for a quick walk to sort of clear my head, to be honest, because that was a pretty frenetic finale to the game. This fixture has a tendency to be somewhat chaotic, to change course in an instant, and this was no exception. 3-2, and yet that doesn't really capture the story of the game whatsoever. I mean, it was a really odd match, and Arsenal come away with a victory, a really important victory. This has been a really good week after the disappointment of Munich. Arsenal responded really well to that. You know, they have won 3 consecutive Premier League games in the space of 7-8 days. In the last few days alone, they've beaten 2 big London rivals in Chelsea and Spurs. It's fantastic, you know, and it means that they keep the pace up on Manchester City, and they look like they're going to be sticking around to the bitter end of this title race. The same cannot be said, of course, for Liverpool. And yet, as much as I enjoyed that victory, I think in some respects Arsenal were a little bit lucky today. Now, people might take issue with that, but if you're going to win a league, you need a bit of luck. You need Tottenham to not get the bounce of the ball in stoppage time, to get the equaliser that robs you of not only 2 points, but momentum, morale, all those things. You know, you need to win games where you're not at your best. And there's skill involved in that, but there's luck too. I think Arsenal got a bit of luck today. Maybe people will think that's absurd, given the fact that, you know, we were 3-0 up at half-time, coasting, and we gifted them 2 goals to get back into it. But I think the way in which we went those 3 goals ahead, the manner in which we got 3 goals ahead, the chances Spurs missed, I think in the first half, I think they were the better side. I don't like to say it, but I think they were. And if you think of the opportunities they had, Christian Romero, he got his goal eventually, but he might have had 3 before that. If you think of the goal they scored that was offside by Gabriel's bum, fortuitously not being quite as voluptuous as Gary Neville potentially imagined. I mean, you know, I don't think there's any denying it. And as we headed into that final 5 minutes, I found myself thinking, well, I think the Spurs probably do deserve a draw from this game. I sort of think it would be a fair result, but for Arsenal, having been 3-0 up, it would have been a catastrophic result. It's so interesting, isn't it, how narrative changes around football. You know, a few weeks ago everyone was saying Klopp's departure, that emotion might well fuel Liverpool to win the title. Now they drop a few points and it's like, well, you know, the timing of his announcement is always going to be a problem. You know, they've been too emotional in the end. And at half-time in this game, I was on Twitter, obviously social media, and watching the TV coverage. Everyone was talking about Arsenal, you know, this is the real sign of champions, not playing their best, but 3-0 up. They're a different team now. Such a different team, such a different mentality. This is, you know, why they could be champions this year. And what would have happened had that 3rd goal gone in for Spurs, had it ended 3-0? You know, was all that everyone was saying at half-time just nonsense? Would they then be saying, maybe they're saying even now, I'm not watching the TV coverage, maybe they're saying, oh, same old Arsenal, you know, they choked a bit at 3-0 up. It's all nonsense, you know. Everyone wants us to be champions-elect or bottlers, and of course, the truth is somewhere in between. We're a good side, and football matches, particularly at this elite level, particularly in derby games, are chaotic. And things are decided on the finest of margins. And Arsenal got the breaks today. You know, they got a 3-0 lead that I'm not sure they deserved, and which ultimately proved unassailable. That said, it was very enjoyable, that first half. Very, very funny to see Spurs actually playing quite well, but just undoing themselves with some very poor defending, it has to be said. And Arsenal took advantage of that brilliantly. So there we were, 3-0 up. There's that moment near the start of the second half where Havertz gets to the byline, cuts it back, Saka's volley is saved. I'm assured it would have been ruled out for offside. I didn't realise that watching it myself, but I was told that by some people who follow me on Twitter. I have to say that felt like a big moment in the game, even so, because, you know, it just... I don't know, had it been onside or had Saka scored that, had Arsenal found a way to score a fourth near the start of the half, it would have absolutely killed the match. You know, it would have just sort of, I think even more fans would have left the stadium, and that would have been that. That not going in just gave Spurs a little bit of hope, a little bit of life. Even so, I was looking at it and thought, well, this is actually Arsenal's best period in the game. With an hour or so played, you know, we looked comfortable and confident, and we were right to. And then David Raya makes a massive mistake, and they're back into it. And then obviously Declan Rice does the same, you know, swinging up and appearing to kick a bloke in the balls, basically, in your own penalty area, which apparently you're not allowed to do. I'm not going to go in too hard on David Raya, because I've always sort of said, when you ask goalkeepers to play from the back as much as we do, mistakes will be made, you know. I said the same when Aaron Ramsdale made that pass against Southampton. This is going to happen. Timing is everything, though, right? And the timing of both of those was not ideal. I suppose you'd rather see it happen at 3-0 up, wouldn't you? You are in that sort of unassailable position. It was reminiscent in some respects of 2004. You know, when we won the league at White Hart Lane, we were 2-0 up, I think, at half-time in that game, on our course to lift the trophy at full time, and Spurs got back to 2-2. You can always expect a fight back in a derby game. You know, they're playing for pride at that point. They can't allow you to just roll them over at home. So it's never quite over. It's never quite done. Anyway, we get there. I mean, here's the funny thing, right? Had they pegged us back to 3-3, everyone would be talking in terms of, Arsenal haven't learned their lessons, same old Arsenal. And really, what is the difference between this 3-2 win and the 2-2 at Anfield last year? The difference is, well, Højbjerg going goal, basically. That's what I mean when I say we've got a bit of luck. But you need that desperately. And last season we didn't get that. You know, last season we didn't get those bits of luck. I mentioned that Southampton game. I remember Trossard having a shot, maybe at 3-3 from the edge of the box, further out, 30 yards, hits the crossbar. And you're like, well, if that's 2 inches under, or hits the bar and goes in, Arsenal win that match, and who knows, maybe they go on and win the league. These things change on such small percentages, and yet such great arcing narratives are spun out of them. It must be maddening for coaches and players and people inside the game. I do believe we are a different team this year. I think we're a better team defensively. I think it's telling that the 2 goals Spurs scored were from individual errors, but they might have scored several more. That is the thing, they might have scored several more. This was not a great Arsenal performance. I thought in possession we were sloppy, even like Martin Odegaard, uncharacteristically sloppy, Trossard the same. Maybe that's the derby, maybe that's the stakes, maybe it's the occasion. Hard to know, isn't it? Certainly we weren't at our best, but we got the points, and in a derby game, that's all that matters, and in a title race, that's all that matters. One player I thought was outstanding today was Kai Havertz, by the way. A really excellent centre-forward performance, did a bit of everything, got his goal as well. Celebrated it so nonchalantly that I thought it was an own goal, another own goal, because he seemed to almost be shrugging it off, but it's actually a nice header from a great delivery by Declan Rice. Yeah, look, I wish we'd won 3-4, 5-0, that would have been great, but if you'd offered me 9 points from 9, you know, Saturday last week, I would have bitten your hand off. Not just your hand, your whole arm, probably. Over to you, City. Let's see what you can do against Forest. I mean, I expect they'll win. I expect we have to win all our games, and irony of all ironies, it's probably that Spurs team that we're hoping can take the points off City that might enable us to be champions. Well, terrific win. North London's red. Arsenal back at the top of the Premier League, for now anyway. And on to the next one. I come back to that point about getting the breaks. I look at last season and I think, look at the players who were out. Look at some of the teams we had to field. Look at the big moments in games. Saka scuffing a penalty at West Ham. You know, big moments that didn't go our way that ultimately derailed everything. And I just feel like this year and in this game, we are getting more breaks. Let's see. I've said all season we have the feel of a team who are going to win something. There's only one thing left to win. Let's see.